Okay, good evening and welcome to the Design Review Board meeting of August 8th, 2024. The DRB meeting is now called to order. Please refrain from talking among yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones at this time. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current DRB agendas and staff reports are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB appeal is available from staff. Please note that any appeal of a case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. And this will be roll call. Board Member Kaskanian is absent. Board Member Chagayan is absent. Board Member Simonian.
Present.
Board Member Welch.
Present.
Madam Chair Lockruff.
Present.
Okay. Reports regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for the August 8th, 2024 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on August 1st, 2024, and on the bulletin board outside City Hall on August 5th, 2024. Approval of minutes for July 11th, 2024.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move to adopt the minutes.
Okay,
I'll second.
we have a
Great, thank you.
motion to adopt in a second. Okay, and regarding oral communication, discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, and Design Review Board may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. I do not have any cards for oral communication. You do, okay. Okay, for oral? Okay, so no cards for oral communication, got it. Okay, any board member comments? No? Okay. So we do not have anything under old business. We do have one case today under new business at 1541 Rima Vista Drive, DRB case number 003055-2024. And for the record, we did start the meeting at 5 p.m. Okay, so I will turn it over to you, Madam Chair.
Okay. It'd be great if Ms. Pruitt could please present the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair Lockruff, board members, and members of the public. I'm Cassandra Pruitt, and I'll be presenting this project at 1541 Rima Vista Drive. The project is to demolish the existing traditional one-story house and build a new contemporary-style one-story house. I'll now summarize the staff report analysis and recommendations. So the site is located in central Glendale at the southwest corner of Rima Vista Drive and Misty Isle Drive. The applicant is proposing to demolish the 1964 one-story house that features 1,992 square feet of floor area, and they're going to construct a new one-story contemporary-style house featuring 2,821 square feet of floor area. The site is located in the R1R-2 zone, which is the restricted residential zone, floor area ratio District 2. The lot size is 10,673 square feet. The lot slopes down slightly at the front from Rima Vista, and then it has a flat building pad for most of the site, and then it slopes down steeply at the rear toward the neighbor. There is an indigenous protected oak tree in the front yard that will be maintained as part of the project. And then there's some shade trees here. 2 of them will be maintained. 1 of them will be removed for the trellis. And And the project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act review because it is a new single-family house. No indigenous protected trees will be affected by the project, and the existing house to be demolished is not identified as being a historic resource. I'll now run through the analysis of the project in terms of the comprehensive design guidelines, which includes 3 topic areas. 1 is site planning, 2 is mass and scale, and 3 is design and detailing. So in terms of site planning, this is the site plan on the screen. The 1-story building is located on an existing building pad, as I mentioned. There's an infinity pool at the rear that extends slightly beyond the backyard downslope. This starts to slope here. And then there's a rear trellis. The attached garage at the front is consistent with the street pattern and architectural style. The street front and street side setbacks are in line with the prevailing setbacks on the street. The driveway features decorative paving and permeable paving, and there's a flared part of the concrete driveway that comes out, and that's a required easement by the Public Works Department. In terms of site planning, there's 2 minor items that have been called out in the staff report as needing attention. The first is that the trash bins are currently proposed at the far rear of the site, which doesn't give easy access for trash collection pickup. And then the retaining walls on the site, which run along here and some in the front. The plans don't clearly specify the proposed material and color, which is per the applicant stucco to match the house. So conditions of approval are recommended to clarify these items on the plan set. As a note, the landscape plan includes a variety of low water use plants that are appropriate to the architectural style. In terms of the mass and scale, the building is only 1 story, so it's quite modest in terms of its mass and scale. Further, the roof and the facades are broken up by variations in planes and materials, which further helps break up the massing. The entryway is also prominent but not monumental, and the proportions and forms of the building are appropriate to the contemporary style, which is consistent across the house. An item of concern is that the contemporary style with the flat roof is not consistent with the predominant neighborhood pattern of traditional style homes with pitched roofs. So staff has recommended a condition of approval for DRB consideration to maybe have the applicant incorporate a pitched roof into the design to help the building be more consistent with the neighborhood. As a note, no public comments have been received about this project from the community. In terms of design and detailing, the contemporary style is consistent across the building, as I mentioned, and the entryway provides an appropriate focal point that is well proportioned. The finished materials are high quality, varied, and wrap corners. The materials include smooth stucco, tile, metal and wood doors, aluminum windows, metal garage door, decorative concrete paving, and recessed downlights. A minor item that needs attention is that the window schedule shows block frame windows and doesn't specify the proposed sill or edge detail, but the window section detail shows recessed nail-ins. So staff recommends a condition of approval to update the window schedule to show that it's recessed nail-in, reference it to the window section detail, and then to clarify the edge detail for each window. In terms of the backyard, this rendering view shows the infinity pool and the deck and the trellis, which are modest and follow the topography. A section shows the line of sight from the trellis to the neighboring property, and it shows a couple of the existing shade trees to remain. That's at the far north of the trellis. So the trees don't shade or don't provide screening for the entire property, but they screen part of this trellis area. However, the pool is only raised 3 to 4 feet, so it's pretty modest in terms of the height, and it's 10 feet away from the property line. And then this image shows the existing screening between the neighboring house and the site. So given all of this, it's not anticipated to be intrusive to the neighbor in terms of privacy. So that is, in summary, the analysis, and the recommendation is to approve the project with conditions, and the 4 conditions in the staff report were to use a pitched roof to help tie in the contemporary design to the more traditional neighborhood context, to clarify the retaining wall materials, to relocate the trash bin, and to update the window schedule. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much for your presentation. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, Board Member Welsh.
In terms of your condition number 1 there, had you put any thoughts towards what kind of a pitched roof or how you'd articulate that, or if you'd talked to the applicant about that?
I did talk with the applicant. They definitely would like to get the project approved with the flat roof. They don't really want to be exploring the option of doing that because they really want to get the flat roof. I think it would just be like a gable type roof that's contemporary in style with maybe like a standing seam metal roof, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Were alternate trash locations discussed with the applicant? Was that item brought up with them?
It was
In advance?
mentioned a few times during the review, and it wasn't addressed yet, so I think it could just be addressed during the plan check process.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Simonian? Okay, no questions. Okay, great. Then we'll, if there are no further questions, then we'll open up the public portion of the hearing. Can the applicant please come forward and state your name, please? Thank you.
Evening. My name is Anita Yeravani. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to be here also. We purchased this property right before COVID. We have 3 kids, 18, 15, and a 4-year-old daughter. This felt like home from the second we walked in. Initially, we wanted to do smaller changes, so we actually applied for permits to make some changes within the house without really adding a lot of square footage. We were hoping that it would happen quickly, but with COVID, it took us a really long time. So by the time everything came back to us, and we've looked at the construction costs, and we kind of realized that it's not really worth to pay that much for so little. So we've decided to scratch everything, and we hired a new architect and decided to build our dream home. Cassandra is correct. It could have been a very nice 2-story house, but we decided to use the smaller 1-story modest option. We're in front of a very large, beautiful, contemporary building ourselves, and it's very beautiful, so it kind of inspired us a little bit. We're hoping to, if we can get it approved as is, as it looks really cool to us, and our architect was able to bring our vision to life. We are hoping that we can get this done before the kids get to college, so if you can help us get there quickly, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions?
Do you have questions for the applicant? Okay.
Just had a couple questions about the materials. Are you able to answer that? or-
Okay, sorry.
I'll hold that.
Okay. Well, then I'll, yeah, if we don't have any other questions, then I'll call forward the project manager. Welcome. Please state your name. Thank
Good
you.
evening, Commissioners. I'm Puya Payan, representing from the architectural firm working on the project. Thank you for being here, and thank you for Cassandra to supporting us throughout this way. If you can put up my presentation, Cassandra, I would really appreciate it. I wanted to start with our neighboring properties so you get a context on where we are sitting and how our neighborhood looks like. So we are on the corner, as Cassandra said, on a corner lot, so we have a big exposure on both sides. And we are kind of elevated from the Misty Isle Street. We are kind of flat on Rema Vista. Next slide, please. This is our project. Next one. The corner. That's the 2-story house, although I don't think it's that beautiful of a modern house, but it exists there and it kind of bring a precedence to the neighborhood. It's probably a little too huge and too flat, 2-story high, cold in colors. Next slide. Our side elevation. Next slide. This is one of the neighbors on our side, another neighbor, the 2-story house in front of us. A 2-story house, again, another 2-story house, a very high ceiling, pitch roof. Next one. Next one. This is very close to our property, a 2-story with pitch roof, you know, something that can happen on this property. I think very busy, too many colors, non-harmonious. So the reason I want to bring that to your attention is that I don't think that a pitch roof would fix the problem of the building. I think there's other aspects on design that can bring harmony for a building into the design. I think in this instance, the owners, they want a very modest house. They could have built a 2-story, 28 feet, big home over there, but they're really looking to build something that they want. They're living there for 5 years now, and the space is not enough for them, but they don't want a 5,000, 6,000 square foot house. So I think we should give them the credit because they don't, and they're very sensitive to design. They hired good landscape architects, good architects. Next slide. Another house within our vicinity. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. This is another 2-story house. And then I put up some surveys of the modern houses around us. Next slide, please. As far as the size, our building is lower than average than our neighboring properties. I don't know if you can see, but the red properties are modern style houses within our vicinity. Of course, there are more down the, but these are within 300, 400 square feet from us. Next slide. This is our adjacent neighbor. Next. This is a flat roof. I think it's well landscaped, low in profile. So I personally think the mid-century modern is a very prominent look in California, and very big architects have designed in that style. There's a lot of mid-century homes in Glendale, and I appreciate all of them. I think this is in that realm. It's a 1-story, very modest home. Next slide. Another modern home, somewhere between traditional and modern. I don't see a real style on this one, you know. Next slide. 1-story, good, modest, in the realm of our project. Next slide. And this is another view of the same. Another 1-story, almost completed 2-story mid-century home, or modern influenced by mid-century design, which is probably has been approved by you guys recently. Another modern home within the vicinity with a flat roofs. And then this is within our neighborhood, and it's pitch roofed, pushed into a modern home, which I don't think is really the solution to get a good house. Next slide. So we tried to bring in more earth tone colors, low in profile, and an entry which does say that I'm the entry of the house, but does not stand out as much. high-quality material as stone, stucco, and porcelain tile, and another 2 porcelain tiles and stucco and sheet metal has been proposed. The slants are metal, and the doors and windows are aluminum Fleetwood. Next slide. Next slide. I'll be done fast. The trash, I don't see a problem with the trash. The trash can easily go from the backyard. There's a ramp, and we have shown the path of travel for the trash to come to Roma Vista. I don't see why the trash does not work there. Next slide. Next slide. All right, the amount of landscape is shown here on the property. Next. Floor plan, which if you want, we can discuss. Roof plan with solar panels and batteries that the owner wants to put in. Next slide. Next, 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 next. Some renderings, even the side view has a lot of articulations back and forth and very harmonious. Next slide. Landscape is not shown on these 3Ds just so that you can see the building, but when the landscape comes in front of it, it's gonna be, I think it's nicer, but for sake of presentation. Next slide.
Milka, may I ask, was the buzzer, the time has ended? Okay, if you could, yeah,
Brief.
wrap
Next
up
slide.
your thoughts. Thank
The
you.
back of the building. Next. Next, the materials. Landscape. Yeah, we have landscape. We have a lot of trees that were selected. Next slide. You can see that we have 2 in the front and
Okay.
next
Well,
slide.
you can have 2 minutes, 2 more minutes
I'm
to
done.
give you, giving you a sense of time. Okay.
I'm done. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you. Board Member Welsh, do you have questions?
Yeah, the questions I had were about the materials, particularly this sort of wood siding slatted things. You're describing those as metal,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Are they consistent throughout the whole house?
Yes.
Or are you using 2 different ones? Because I saw a couple of references to a couple different descriptions in the key. So I just want to be clear that you're using one type of this slatted type of material, and it's a metal rusted color kind of a look, something like that?
It's painted brown, but we are a design-built firm, so we have constructed such. We have put wood, and then it warps, and after 2 years, it doesn't look as good. But metal, it's way easier to detail and maintain. A little bit more extra initial cost, but it's gonna last longer. And if we want, we can make sure.
Yeah, because I asked because in the key here, it's listed as number 11, composite siding, Spanish walnut, European siding. Is that incorrect?
It's behind the metal.
It's behind the metal.
That's behind the metal, and then the slants is in front of the,
Okay, so these are literally just metal pole,
yeah,
like,
2x4s or 2x6, with a
okay.
gap between the metal and the surface of the building.
I see, okay. So there's some depth there to that.
Yes.
So you've got the wall of the house, a cementitious siding, some kind of a gap, and then these metal.
These slants.
Slats.
Correct.
Okay, I see. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Given her, recommendation about some slanted roofs here or some kind of structure like that, had you thought about anything there? I mean, I just want to kick it around a little bit here because I think we'll kick it around a little bit on our side, but I just want to have you kick it around with us first before we,
I mean, we thought about it. I presented to the owners. They don't wish to move forward on that direction. They said if we have to go this way, we're gonna come back with a 2-story house.
okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Simonian.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. But by the way, out of curiosity, had you presented another Glendale project some years ago, maybe 2 years ago? Northern Glendale, it was mid-block. It had this kind of white stucco frame on one side. And it was a contemporary building like this. Was that your firm?
It's my first time. I only did one remodeling here back in the days. But since that, I've never been presented in
Oh, I see,
front of,
okay.
or my firm.
The renderings were very similar, and that was a nice project, so that's what I was
Thank you.
curious about. In regards to the window comment, I see that on sheet 10.1, you've detailed nail-on as far as the construction detail is concerned, a nail-on window frame. But I can't read the details, it's too small at the moment. In your window schedule, was that a misreference where it indicated block frame, and are everything going to be
Yeah,
nail-on?
they're all nail-on. All the windows are recessed with a nail-on detail. The way you do it is, if you have most of our exterior walls, some of them are 18-inch, some of them are 8-inch. So you put a 2x4 and it nails on, and then the stucco
Have plenty of
returns.
room. Understood.
Yeah, so you have
Okay.
plenty of, but some of our walls, most of our walls, especially on the front and the back and the sides, are way thicker than that. So even though they're going to be nail-on, they're going to be recessed on the
Understood,
facade.
yeah, because I noticed the detail on 10.1 had the recessed. Those were just the two questions I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And the only question I have is regarding the trash. You touched on it briefly, that there's enough, that you were saying that there's a pathway for the trash. Is there a reason that you don't want to move it closer to the kitchen or putting it out to the front? I just wanted to understand
I don't
the
know
reasoning
if we're
for-
allowed to put it in the front yard.
well, yeah, but did you have other location options that you were considering?
The side yard is not, we don't have enough space in the side yard to put
Right.
it over there. So
Right.
we put it right when the side yard finishes.
I
and
see.
It's probably 70 feet of walk to bring the trash out. Probably the gardener is going to put it out and bring it in.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And I believe that's all of our questions. And
Yep.
thank you very much for speaking.
Sure. Thank you.
And do we have callers?
There are no callers on the line at this time.
Okay, thank you. Well, then, at this point, we'll close the public portion and we'll start our deliberations. Board Member Simonian?
Yes,
Would you like to start?
thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you for taking the time to present the project. That was a nice presentation. I know this area well. I was indicating earlier, my family lives very close to this house. I drive by it all the time, and I'm aware of the big modern home across the street. I would categorize this neighborhood as more on the modern side, meaning that because it's a newer neighborhood, there just happens to be more modern homes. And there were a lot of infill lots that were built. And a lot of lots were also redeveloped. And this is one of those areas in Glendale where the modern architectural style is prevalent, and that's nice. I particularly really like your design. I think it's well thought out and well designed. The materials are of high-end nature. And in addition, it's low slung. It does have a mid-century feel to it, but in a very creative, modern way. And so I would say the characteristics of it, where it's lower and wider, has that mid-century look to it, but then it is very creative. There are a lot of facets to it, and so the more I looked at it, the more I really enjoyed spending time with the design, so job well done. I particularly have no issue about the roof. In fact, I think it is well-designed flat, and there's a lot of precedence in the neighborhood for flat, modern designs, and so I don't really particularly see any reason to force any kind of a slanted roof for that reason, and that the context does exist. Secondly, it's well-designed, and third, I don't think that's been a precedent of ours to try to dissuade applicants from bringing in a modern building. And this happens to be a much more of an eclectic, more modern neighborhood versus some of the traditional neighborhoods in Glendale. As far as the window types are concerned, I looked at the 10.1 detailing, and I'm fine with the recessed windows as depicted. And so I would, I'm also okay with the trash in the rear. It's just something where if they have no problem moving it to the front, it's actually nicer
Right.
that it's out of the sight of the right-of-way. We could force it into the front and then have them screen it somehow, but that seems to take away from the beauty of the home. And so I would, support approving the project and deleting condition number 1, condition number 3, and condition number 4. In regards to condition number 2, I think we forgot to ask the applicant what the material of the walls were, so maybe we could have him come up again if the board sees any reasoning for that. But in general, I really like the project as designed, and I think it's going to be a good addition to the neighborhood, and I could support it as is. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Board Member Welsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I largely agree. I think that this neighborhood has a broad spectrum of different designs there. I don't think there's any kind of singular design that would give any indication that something needs to be responsive to that. I had thought that if you were going to do some kind of a pitched roof there, that maybe you just do a single element at the center, to frame the entryway, having it go back. But again, I tend to agree. I think the design is very well executed as it is. The only thing I might have done a little bit differently is increase the height of that center portion just a little bit. They seem they're very little close in height, and I would maybe push up that center portion maybe another foot. But again, that's just my preference. I don't think it's our job here to dictate design. It's really just to evaluate how well the job has been done, whether it's consistent to itself, whether it meets our, the guidelines. And I think that this does in all respects. From site planning and massing and scale, it's very much within the confines of the guidelines. It's very modestly designed. You're absolutely correct. You could go with a two-story design, and it would be much more of a massive feeling. This is much more in keeping with what we like to see. So I think that you deserve a great deal of credit for that. It's a very thoughtful and responsive and respectful design. And I think the material choices are good. I'm glad I understand them a little bit better and really understand that articulation, because you're really adding a lot of detail there. You're creating depth. And I think that that's one of the things that I really fail to see in a lot of designs, so I'm really happy to see it here. So generally speaking, I think I concur with Board Member Simonian, including with the deletions of the conditions that he suggested, so.
Great, thank you. And thank you again for your presentation, for both of your presentations. And I concur with my colleagues here. I support the project. I think it's a fantastic design. I agree that the mass and scale is appropriate, the color scheme, the materials are lovely, very high quality doors and windows. So I also agree with, I think the design is good as is with the flat roof. And yeah, I think I agree with you in terms of removing those 3 conditions, but I would like to have that clarification regarding the material. If the applicant could please come forward if you could please. I know it's tough right now, but that would be okay. If you could clarify the material on the wall, please.
If you can bring up our material board, it would be more visual. For me too, to remember, I designed this building 2 years ago. So, yeah, this one is good. So number 1 is the white white part, that's porcelain tile. And then number 2, we have it around the entry on this facade, but we have it on elsewhere. If you go to the next one, we have more of a number 2, so they can see to the next material board. Number 2 is the middle volume, and then it's a plaster. Number 3 is, again, another porcelain tile, which is used around the garage volume.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, I think the question is in regards to staff's condition regarding the retaining, or the wall. If you could read back the condition, it might assist.
So show on drawings the finished material for site walls.
Yeah.
Stucco.
It's going to be number 2,
Okay, which is
the plaster.
plaster.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay. So it sounds like we, yeah, do you have any feedback regarding that?
Maybe we could just modify condition number 2 to state the finish material for the site walls will be the stucco as indicated on the material board, stucco number 2 as indicated on the material board.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And so it sounds like we're all in agreement to remove the other 3 conditions and just have that single condition. Can staff please read that back to us? And
So conditions 1, 3, and 4 would be removed, and the remaining condition would be the finished material for the site walls will be stucco number 2 as indicated on the material board.
great. And do we have?
I'll move to approve the project with the stated conditions.
Great.
And I will second that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, that was a motion by Board Member Simonian to approve the project with conditions, and a second by Board Member Welch. Board Member Simonian,
Yes.
Board Member Welch,
Yes.
Madam Chair Lockroff.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. And with that,
Good luck.
thank you. And we'll close the meeting. So, thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn. 5:39
Have a
PM.
second? Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Adjourn.
Good night.